Apparently, creating games that combine visual splendor, cinematic storytelling, and simple but visceral combat, all while winning major awards, doesn't make Ninja Theory immune from Xbox's latest bloodbath. As a fan, I was blindsided. Ninja Theory had just announced their third game in the Hellblade series, titled Senua, slated for a 2027 release. And yet, right after this announcement, Microsoft cut loose the studio that is best known for expanding the technical and narrative foundations of what a game is meant to be. I was relieved then, at least for a moment, when rumors surfaced that Ninja Theory might be purchased from another publisher. But with the future in question, I decided to revisit this English studio's marquee game, Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga, because I think in many ways the Hellblade series is still misunderstood, and that was made clear to me at least when Microsoft jettisoned the studio even after they continued to turn a profit and win awards. From my perspective, the Hellblade series was never about 100-hour open-world adventure games with endless quests. In fact, Hellblade reminds me more of an art house movie than a game, and its success should not be measured by engagement time, but instead by emotional impact. There are a few barriers to entry though, and just looking at the metaphorical back of the box has any would-be consumer questioning its worth against its short runtime of just 6 hours in exchange for their hard-earned $50 US. I think though, if I frame it for you as that art house movie, one with a Nordic, ethereal vibe, you might be more inclined to buy the movie ticket, and instead of criticizing the runtime, you would instead celebrate it. But the price of a movie ticket isn't $50, and what's on offer here is something that isn't quite a game and also not quite a movie. It's more of an interactive experience. I find it silly to put labels on things when, through a different lens, we could instead direct our financial discomfort toward the publisher, Microsoft. The now Xbox, in all caps, claims that anything that doesn't make 30% more in profits needs to be thrown out with the kitchen trash, even though more realistically, the rest of the video game industry hovers around a 20% profit margin. Regardless of the irrationality of Microsoft's spreadsheet, not even to mention how they blame AI on rising costs for consumers, yet are one of the leading players in that space, we should look at Hellblade 2 for what it is: a bespoke adventure best savored deliberately over the course of a few hours with only a short intermission. In this context, each element of Hellblade 2 dominates in its own right. Photorealistic scenery, combined with a plethora of combat animations, meets weighty movement from Senua as you are surrounded by a guttural orchestral track with scattered voices flanking left and right. All of this adds up to make this title part horror, part adventure, part fable, and most of all, something that looks like it was actually filmed with a real camera. It feels lame then to get into the weeds and discuss how we should be discussing Hellblade, when in reality, most critics and players loved the experience. I think even if you don't like this type of game though, you need to respect it. This is a unique piece of art that blends genres like no one else. It was remarkable then to find it ran nearly flawlessly for my entire playthrough, despite its use of Unreal Engine, which has seen massive issues over the past few years. On my modest machine at high settings with upscaling set to quality, I had trouble telling what was a cutscene and what was actually the game. I'm no digital foundry, so in Hellblade's case, it's possible there is no difference. Everything is presented with such attention to detail that there was almost zero visible pop-in, no subpar textures, and even outside of dialogue-heavy sequences, the characters' faces retained that lifelike appearance. Technical achievements for Hellblade 2 go well beyond the visual, though. Binaural audio is a term thrown around a lot in association with this series, and in reality, it just means that the soundscapes envelop the player throughout the whole experience. It's integral to the narrative in many ways, though, since Senua, as you might know, suffers from psychosis, so we, the player, have no idea if what we're seeing is real or is born out of Senua's imagination. We're always accompanied by the whispers of insight from voices beyond the ether, sowing seeds of doubt or pushing Senua to feats of impossible courage. Other moments are accented by the bellowing grit of her father, who in many ways represents the devil she can never seem to outrun. Mix all this with the weight of perceived hallucinations, and I'm not afraid to admit, I had to take a few breaks. The pressure Senua is under is immense, and sound is only part of the equation. The visuals hold nothing back either. Dark and stormy beaches with blue and green waters show themselves as an unaltered Icelandic landscape. This saga takes place in the 9th century, and the evidence of humanity is only seen every so often in the form of small villages sitting on grassy hilltops between the rocky vistas. If it wasn't for the supernaturally bad weather, haunted forests, and volcanic aftermath in the distance, I might want to be a tourist. The environments are so real at times. I found myself inching towards my screen to make sure I could still see pixels rather than peering through to another dimension. None of this would matter though if the actors' performances didn't hold up, and this is also where Hellblade excels. The quality of facial rendering extends far past any tech I've seen in any other video game. Each micro adjustment we as humans make during conversations is preserved. The quiver of a lip, the darting of our eyeballs, and the subtle ways we express grief, happiness, or pain. The way light hits the skin changes based on time of day, and combined with how the light reflects in the character's eyes, makes us question if this was just filmed with real people in a non-fiction place. Even something as simple as the way Senua's breath meets the crisp Nordic air feels grounded. The blend of player-controlled sequences and more cutscene-like moments are seamless too, as I mentioned before. The graphical fidelity stays just as high throughout the entire game. The performances then, combined with the performance capture technology, are a reason why Hellblade presents like a blended medium versus a straight-up video game. It somehow manages to escape Uncanny Valley too. Even the mystical feels plausible. We're shown a world blending reality with depictions of hidden folk, giants, and otherworldly forces. Yet I never questioned this throughout its entire runtime. Sometimes I get the feeling I'm watching The Northman. Other times it feels like the most intense episode of Game of Thrones. But at its core, Hellblade 2 feels like an original story of one person trying to break a cycle of savagery, fear, and absolutionism. We see this right from the beginning, and without spoiling too much, we're following Senua as she tries to free her enslaved people. Her ship crashes on the desolate shores of Iceland, and immediately her psychosis had my skin crawling. We have to navigate through a ship capsized on the coastline. Senua finds herself facing nature at its worst. As the rising tide threatens her life, so do her visions, because mangled bodies of the ship's crew come alive and try to hold her under the waves. We're then given the chance to fight our captors. We wound the leader, but kill the rest in order to have him answer for his crimes and reunite Senua with her people. Along the way, we discover a land ravaged by giants, explained to us by one of our eventual companions as an occurrence brought upon through a volcanic eruption that shattered the walls between Midgard and Jotunheim. Senua's psychosis is a central theme carried over from the first game, but here we're shown in the sequel how she might control it and even use it to aid her decision-making. Her companions probably think she is just pensive, thoughtful, and courageous, while we're privy to her internal dialogue, which has much darker insights. The genius here, for me, lies in the smallness. We as a player are focused on Senua, and we never leave her thoughts. So we have to make up our own minds, as Senua would too, even though the perspective is third person. And this is why the fight sequences are so difficult. Yes, there's heft behind each slash of her sword, but there's also agony when we mistime a lunge from our foes. We're seeing and feeling her motivations to continue the fights. As she screams, so do we. And as she dies, in a way, so do we, of course, as the player, only to be reborn from her point of view. Momentum is never lost, because when it comes to big fight sequences, Ninja Theory prioritizes pacing, and sometimes we're brought back in a snap rather than a quick dip to black. There are moments of downtime too, though, when we're not fighting off a dozen cannibals or avoiding the inferno of giants, and when we're just walking through mossy landscapes as we make our way to our next objective. This is literally the quiet before the storm, and these soft pauses are there to provide moments of relief and allow momentum to build to the next climactic engagement. It also gives Senua a chance to chat with her small band of companions, a distinctly different thing than the first Hellblade game. No game is perfect though, and while Hellblade 2 showcases a leap forward from its predecessor, it's not without its own faults. While it remains to be seen if the third entry will ever be published, one thing is clear. Ninja Theory is listening to fan feedback and focusing more on gameplay rather than a strictly narrative experience. Trailers only reveal so much, but what we're seeing for this next game from Ninja Theory looks very promising. I hope the team can escape purgatory and that if it does get purchased by new publishers, they understand the work that Ninja Theory is trying to do at its core: craft amazing games that push boundaries. But let's add some perspective to this conversation by taking a look at Obsidian Entertainment. The studio is still best known for Fallout New Vegas, a spin-off that is often lauded as the best Fallout entry. But since its release about 16 years ago, Obsidian hasn't iterated beyond that experience. Think about it. Something like The Outer Worlds 2, which launched last year, is fundamentally the same as Fallout New Vegas. I'm not the only one who thinks so. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 head designer agrees, saying Obsidian shouldn't continue focusing on the narrow field of view of their older games, but instead use the immense backing, aka funding, by Microsoft to propel game design forward in new and interesting ways, just like they did with their older games. It's ambition then that guides pushing the envelope in gaming. Obsidian has had niche concepts and executed them well. I'm thinking back to Pillars of Eternity and Pentiment among them. But for their larger budget titles like Avowed and The Outer Worlds, they don't offer anything unique in the gaming landscape. Honestly, they're nothing special. You could argue there's a signature flavor here, but go back and play New Vegas and it's basically the same. Slightly stilted, awkward combat, dialogue-heavy games that have landed Obsidian a place amongst gaming Hall of Famers. New Vegas is regarded as a benchmark for open-world RPGs, and in many ways it helped define them in the modern context. Some industry games also set a benchmark and then don't need to innovate. For example, Diablo 2 and Diablo 4 really don't have major innovations between them, but there is a modernization of that original formula going on as the Diablo numbers tick up. There's nothing wrong with this either, but for Obsidian in particular, who rarely sees their games selling well against their exorbitant budgets, I think they should take a second look. Regardless, I don't wish any studio under Microsoft to face the chopping block, but when I look back at what Hellblade and Ninja Theory as a team have accomplished with industry context, it makes me appreciate their games even more. And I think if you have $15, which is what it goes for on sale these days, as well as an afternoon to spare, you'll appreciate Senua's Journey just as much as I did. But that's enough from me. Am I giving Hellblade and Ninja Theory too much credit? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next video.